Welcome to ComSpark. Today we're in Louisville, Kentucky. My name's Christine Zmich, and I'm with the Executive Host Committee for ComSpark, and I will be your guest host today. Today we're here with Bill Kent, Vice President of Business Technology from Restaurant Supply Chain Solutions.
Good afternoon.
So Bill, we wanted to ask you some questions today, and we wanted to start with which particular areas did you feel were key when you were selecting and implementing a new ERP system?
Yeah, it's a great question. Personally, over my years, I'm probably aging myself, but I've implemented 8 different ERP solutions. So this will be the 9th product, and I'm pretty excited about it. I would say, the discovery and evaluation was critical. I think you don't shortchange the effort to bring the right people together to discover and evaluate both the product and the service provider who's going to help implement the solution. I would say to be successful, a couple other things would stand out. First and foremost, you want to make sure that you have full executive level support. Companies struggle oftentimes if they lack that upper management level involvement. The staff, the resources don't seem to be as fully engaged, and so you want to first make sure that you've got the backing at the executive level. And also, a project champion. And that project champion needs to be someone on your staff. You don't want to just go with a vendor selected PM to move your ERP forward. You want to bring people from around the business, whether they're process owners or subject matter experts, together, and you want them early and often in those meetings. It's difficult to get people to sort of be pried away from their day-to-day job, but you want A team players on an ERP implementation.
I couldn't agree more.
The other thing, I think you want to make sure you have a very good, extensive list of requirements. And you may look at some process maps and look at your current and future state flows, but you want those requirements well defined, and you want to involve, again, those people within the organization and have them along for the definitions of what it is these processes need to look like. And then I know it's somewhat cliche, but in a standard, but you want to get references. And in your organization, the organization who helped us implement our ERP was very helpful in providing those kinds of references. You want to ask them questions around what went right, what went wrong, and certainly there's going to be challenges with any ERP implementation. But you want to make sure, you understand what could they have done differently. So again, somewhat cliche, but I think it's important to make sure that the references are checked. And then I'll summarize 3 things: customization, change management, and training. So think before you customize, right? And so an ERP implementation, it has to be transformative. And so you want to see whether or not, you're clearly going to have some special sauce, some special requirements, let's call it, with your business processes. But to the degree you want to make sure you try to conform with more of the best practices that these modern day ERP solutions provide. And so make sure that you're thinking about customization. It will generate higher cost. It will generate more time for deployment. So the degree you can steer away from it, you do so. And then let's not skimp on training and understanding the involvement of people in change management. An ERP implementation is a once in every 10-year type of event. And so, it can also change your company culture. So you want to make sure that the people understand the organizational change. It's pivotal to the success.
Incredibly well said. I can tell you've done 8 or 9 of these,
and
you've had some lessons learned. So
I have. I hope it's the last, but yeah.
That was excellent advice. What are some of the technology transformational trends shaping the near future at your company, Restaurant Supply Chain Solutions, or even at Yum Brands Concepts, the KFCs, the Taco Bells, Pizza Huts, and the companies that you manage the supply chains for?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll talk to, really, we are the supply chain organization for the world's largest quick service restaurant. And so, we are a very data-driven business as a supply chain organization. Data, is infinitely valuable in our organization. And so, really, the last 3 years have been around acquiring information, and we call it from the farm to the fork. So the information that flows even at a farm to the supplier, through a distribution channel, and then on to the restaurants, and even beyond that, we'd like to glean, consumer level information and provide this back to our company, which is really the franchise ownership of each of the brands. And so, unlocking and analyzing this shared data is really at the very heart of transformation. So it was a necessity to bring that in-house to create a enterprise data warehouse, and then look towards improving customer experiences and streamlining the operations. Yum launches a lot of new and innovative items, and we need to be at the ready to help them do that and make sure that not only are we launching those items and those products at the right time, at the right price point, but ultimately we also are responsible for making sure their restaurants open on time, on budget. And so those are just a few of the areas. We're also seeing some other disruptors, some other trends in the industry. You're hearing about autonomous driving vehicles shipping freight, and so we're starting to see some limited runs there. I think it's a ways off, but something that is certainly big in our industry. Blockchain, these are words that in technologies that have been around for some time. I think we're seeing sort of a second coming there in our case for things like food safety and traceability. We're also looking at, and Yum will tell you that there's kitchens of the future. So kitchen display systems, consumer-facing self-service kiosks, digital menu boards at our drive-thrus. And so even multi-purpose tablets are showing up. With the whole Internet of Things, we're seeing more and more of this equipment necessary, whether it's for settlement, whether it's for driving increase in check averages. More and more of this hardware is being sort of disconnected from the software, where we own the software or the firmware, we load it on any piece of agnostic equipment that we can. And so, in the past, this was sort of connected. We're decoupling that. And so that's some trends. I'll mention a couple others. RFID, right? This is an older technology, but we're seeing more suppliers embed their chips in their case packs. And so we're now looking at readers that can recognize that information and provide more real-time inventory information in the back of a restaurant, if you will. And then beyond that, our organization also handles a lot of the customer service for the franchise community. And so I think we'll see more and more virtual customer assistance, and we're doing some tests around that where we're actually looking at conversational AI, if you will. And so we may see, trends towards less human and more bots, if you will, as this conversational AI type of methodologies become more and more advanced.
You really discussed the entire spectrum of digital transformation. I mean, the only thing I didn't hear you say was virtual reality. And some people still want their food. It's not
right.
virtual,
Yeah, let's hope so. Yeah. Less calories, but not as much fun, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, what types of IT-related skills or roles do you think are fast becoming in high demand, given everything that's on your plate and in your organizational agenda?
Yeah. I would say that, I think there's always a place for those traditional roles, such as, on the infrastructure side, whether it's network security, data center, administration, the infrastructure side of things, sysadmins, for lack of a better term. On the software development side, again, there's always a place for web developers, for database administrators. But we're seeing a little bit of a shift now to more DevOps environments and more of a convergence of roles around where a full stack developer can also configure and manage a server or an operating system or load, a platform. And so, they don't have to rely as much on a system administrator to build a machine or an operating system. So, and now with cloud computing and, say, virtualization, it makes these hybrid roles a little more valuable to the organization. And so, do more with less is always, technology mantra. And so, I think you're seeing those roles evolve. You mentioned virtual reality and augmented reality. I think that's real, even in our industry. Certainly, the Internet of Things, as I mentioned earlier, is becoming more prevalent. But we're seeing now also this emergence of, call it vision and machine learning engineers. So these are the people, the advanced programmers who are capable of programming or developing the AI machines in the systems, or putting the algorithms in these bots, right? And with so much data at our fingertips, more and more, as much as we can do through AI or machine learning to get the answers rather than have to crunch numbers, those skills are heavily important. And so that, along with data scientists and business intelligence specialists who are now more and more prevalent inside the business community than they are in days of the past, where you had a report programmer for everything, any kind of output that you needed. I mean, the world is becoming flat, and the organizations are becoming flatter, and we're seeing an emergence in those skills develop in the user community.
From what I see, it's a very well thought out and aligned with the organization and where the economy is going with in the restaurant business. So it's been a pleasure.
It has. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Bill, for joining us today. For more information, please visit comspark.tech.